Have you ever wondered how the humble kitchen staple, salt, is prepared from seawater? Imagine the vast blue expanse of the ocean, laden with a hidden culinary treasure. A remarkable transformation unfolds as the sun's warm embrace coaxes the seawater to give up its salt. This process, as ancient as civilization itself, holds a significant role in our daily lives, an intriguing tale of science, nature, and culinary artistry. Well, today we unravel the mystery of salt production from seawater. It all begins with the vast salty oceans that cover our planet. These expansive bodies of water are the primary source for salt production, not because of their size alone, but due to their rich salt content. You see, seawater isn't just water. It's a cocktail of various elements and compounds. However, the magic ingredient we're after is sodium chloride, more commonly known as salt. It makes up about 3.5% of seawater's composition. That might not seem like a lot at first glance, but when you consider the sheer volume of our oceans, it's a staggering amount. To put it in perspective, if we could extract all the salt contained in the world's oceans, we would have enough to cover all the continents with a layer nearly 500 feet thick. So, with a source so abundant, how do we extract the salt? The key to extracting salt from seawater lies in a simple process we all learned in school: evaporation. Isn't it fascinating how the simplest of concepts can lead to such valuable results? When we talk about evaporation, we're referring to the process where water changes its state from liquid to gas, leaving behind any dissolved solids. In the case of salt production, the dissolved solids we're interested in are, of course, the salt crystals. So, let's dive into the details. The seawater, sourced from our oceans, is directed into large, shallow ponds. These ponds are specifically designed to maximize the surface area exposed to sunlight and wind. Now, why is this important, you might ask? Well, the sun and wind play crucial roles in the evaporation process. The sun's heat raises the temperature of the seawater, speeding up the evaporation process. It's like when you leave a puddle of water out in the sun, eventually, it disappears, right? The same principle applies here, only on a much larger scale. Meanwhile, the wind aids in the evaporation by sweeping across the surface of the water, carrying away the water vapor. This helps maintain a gradient of humidity above the pond, which further facilitates the evaporation process. As the water evaporates, the concentration of salt in the remaining seawater increases. Over time, the water becomes so saturated with salt that it begins to precipitate out, forming solid salt crystals. These crystals start to accumulate at the bottom of the pond, while the remaining water continues to evaporate. This goes on until almost all the water has evaporated, leaving behind a bed of raw, unrefined salt. In essence, evaporation is a natural, energy-efficient process that capitalizes on the sun's heat and the wind's power. It's the perfect example of how we can harness nature's resources to create something as essential as salt. Evaporation leaves us with the desired product, but it's not ready yet. The journey of transforming seawater into the salt that seasons our food is only halfway through. There's still more to this fascinating process. Let's explore further in the next scene. After evaporation comes the exciting part, the harvest. As the seabeds dry up, the salt is left behind, forming a crusty layer on the surface. This is the moment when the salt is ready to be harvested. Let's imagine a white, crusty surface gleaming under the sun. It's not snow, it's not ice, it's a field of salt, ready to be collected. This is what salt farmers are waiting for after days, sometimes weeks, of patient evaporation. Now, how is this salt harvested, you might wonder? It's a process that requires both skill and the right tools. Traditionally, salt farmers use long, flat shovels known as salt rakes. These rakes are designed to scrape the salt off the surface without digging into the ground beneath. The harvested salt is then gathered into heaps, ready for the next stage of the process. But it's not as easy as it sounds. Harvesting salt requires a delicate touch. The farmers have to ensure they don't break the salt crystals too much or dig too deep and mix the salt with mud. It's a skill that often takes years to master. In modern salt farms, machines have made the process faster and more efficient. These machines, which resemble large lawnmowers, scrape up the salt and load it onto conveyor belts. The salt is then transported to a central location for further processing. Regardless of whether it's harvested by hand or machine, the salt must be collected at the right time. If it's left too long, rain could dissolve it back into the water. On the other hand, if it's harvested too soon, the salt won't have had enough time to crystallize properly. So, as you can see, the harvesting of salt isn't just a matter of waiting for the water to evaporate. It's a delicate dance, a careful balance between nature and human effort. Now that we have our raw salt, it's time for the final touches. The harvested salt is not yet ready to be sprinkled on your fries or used in your cooking. It needs to go through one more step, refinement. But that's a story for our next scene. Raw salt straight from the sea is not quite table ready. It needs to go through refinement. Refinement, you see, is the stage where our harvested sea salt truly becomes fit for your dining table. It's a meticulous process that involves washing, removing impurities, and drying. Let's dive a bit deeper into each of these steps, shall we? First up, washing. This is where the salt is cleaned of any remaining traces of seawater. The harvested salt is rinsed with a concentrated salt solution. Sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But this salt brine effectively washes away any residual minerals and impurities without dissolving the salt. Next, we get to the removal of impurities. The washed salt is then passed through a series of sieves or screens. These screens are designed to filter out any residual debris or foreign particles. It's a bit like panning for gold, but instead of gold nuggets, we're after those precious salt crystals. After this, the salt undergoes a process called centrifugation. Here's where things get a bit science-y. In simple terms, centrifugation is a method used to separate the salt from any remaining unwanted particles. The salt mixture is spun at high speed, causing denser substances to move outward towards the perimeter. This leaves us with pure salt at the center. Finally, we have drying. The salt, now almost completely pure, is spread out and left to dry. This step is crucial as it helps to remove any remaining moisture. And voila! The refined salt is now dry, clean, and ready to be packaged. But why is this refinement process so important? Well, while sea salt in its raw form is rich in minerals, it also contains impurities that can affect its taste and quality. The refinement process ensures that what ends up on your table is pure, clean, and safe to consume. So from the vast, briny depths of the ocean to the intricate refinement process, every step taken is to ensure that the salt you sprinkle on your meals is of the highest quality. And there you have it, salt ready for your kitchen. So, that's how the simple yet essential salt is prepared from seawater. The journey begins with the vast, boundless oceans, an endless source of not just water but also a treasure trove of mineral salts. These seawaters, teeming with approximately 3.5% of salt, are the starting point of our salt production process. This seawater is then led into shallow ponds, where it is left to bask under the sun and the wind. As nature takes its course, the water gradually evaporates, leaving behind salt crystals, a spectacle of nature's marvel. The artistry doesn't end there. Once the water has evaporated, the remaining salt is harvested. It's a labor-intensive process requiring skill and precision as the workers carefully scrape off the salt without damaging the floor of the salt pan. But the journey is not over yet. The harvested salt, while usable, is not yet in its most desirable form. This is where refinement comes in. The raw salt is rinsed to remove impurities, then dried and sieved to achieve the perfect grain size. The result? The fine white crystals of salt that we're all familiar with. But let's not forget the environmental implications of this process. Salt production from seawater is a sustainable practice, relying primarily on natural resources, the sun, wind, and seawater. It's a process that has been carried out for thousands of years and continues to be a crucial part of many economies around the world. However, like any industrial process, it does have some environmental impact. The evaporation ponds can alter local ecosystems, and the refinement process uses water and energy. Therefore, it's important to manage these operations responsibly, ensuring minimal disruption to the environment and local communities. So, there you have it, the fascinating journey of salt, from the depths of the ocean to your dinner table. It's a process that combines tradition, science, and an eye for sustainability. It's a testament to how we as humans have harnessed the elements of nature to fulfill our needs, in a way that respects the planet and its natural resources. Next time you sprinkle salt on your food, remember the incredible journey it has taken from the sea to your table. Thanks for watching.